and it's July 22nd.
I've never
And the
heard
narrative reads the following. And I'm just reading this because I wasn't there. I pulled it up today and I said, this is worth our time. Reported MVA rollover with a person trapped. 6:46 arrived to find a car into a tree, bent in half with a person trapped. Further investigation found one female trapped inside the vehicle. Fire department secured the vehicle, removed the tree, branches, and shrubbery to gain access to the car and extricate the victim. The extrication was extremely difficult due to the level of entrapment. Rush Fire Department 588 also responded to assist with the rams. Total extrication time was nearly 3 hours. Victim was transported to Strong Memorial Hospital via HVA with Medic 54, and then the fire department stood by with the sheriff's department as the investigation went on. Everybody that was there has always said amazing things about this incident, and with that being said, Kimberly, I'll bring you up and let you talk to us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I've never heard that before. That's interesting. Carol, she sent me a picture last night that I've also never seen before. I have a lot of the pictures, and Kevin Blair was at the hospital with me, and some of you, or many of you probably know that after my car accident happened, his daughter also was in the hospital, so God works in mysterious ways, but Kevin and I and both families were there for each other, and I've had these pictures all these years, and Carol actually had one that I've never seen before, which is of me in the car, my face, and I've never seen that. So all night since last night, I've been thinking about this picture that I've not seen in almost 17 years. So I'm gonna walk you through kind of a brief overview of who I was before, when my life stopped that night and changed, and then where it's gone from there. This is an honor for me to be here, and I'm super emotional because it's like full circle to be here in front of you guys because you fought so hard for me that night, and I'm already gonna cry, and then we'll get it out of the way. And so I wouldn't be standing here today, and if it wasn't for the 3 hours to get me out of the car that night, I wouldn't have my legs, and I wouldn't be standing. Thank you. I meant to bring these. And I even forgot my notes, which I'm glad I did, because I never have notes. I've told the story 100 million times since my car accident happened, but never in this sense. So I've been really nervous about this, but I think it's just because I owe my life to your hard work, and even if you weren't there that night, the work that you do every single night, you just never thanked enough, and you just never know how long-lasting your dedication goes into someone's life. And when I tell my story every single time, it's the firefighters and the EMTs, and without them fighting that night, I wouldn't have been here. And they were there every single day after with me in that 5.5 weeks in that hospital, visiting every single day. I don't remember much from those weeks, but I know they were there. I remember that. And awesome, we've kept in touch, and many of them are in here. So that is such an honor for me to get to tell my side of inside the car to what they all know outside. I'm gonna try to completely keep it to my version, but there's a few things that I know just from being told all these years, and I learned more this year when I met Jim for the first time that I had never heard, and every time I tell the story to someone else, I learn more. So. And then at the end, you're more than welcome to ask me questions or anything that pops in your mind, and I'm an open book, and I will love to share. So I had just turned 17, and it was July, it was the 21st actually. The accident kind of happened after midnight. And I had just finished my junior year, so cheerleading, we had won first runner or second, we were first runner-ups at nationals, and I finished cheerleading, and I just got my night license. So just kind of having fun, and it was summer and graduation parties, and we were at a graduation party out in Rush, and I'm just gonna quickly tell how it happened. I'm not gonna focus on that, and then one day you can go read my blog and learn all about more. But I had a really bad relationship in high school, and that night he decided that he was going to chase me on the way back to the party. So we had left the party, and we were at his house, and then I went to go back to the party. He didn't want to be there anymore, and I did not know that. I mean, we fought, we argued it was no big deal, we did that all the time. So I just got in my car, I wanted to go back and hang out with my friends, so on the way back, I know that the thought crossed my mind, maybe I should go a different way, and he lived over by the old Friendlies in West Henrietta, and so instead of going down to like Pinnacle and Whitten and cutting down, for some reason I went through Henrietta thinking, I don't know, I should just go back a different way. And when I turned on East Henrietta Road from Calkins and I started to go past 7-Eleven by the high school, I thought I was getting pulled over because there was high beams behind me, and I really thought I was just going to get pulled over. And then as I turned left onto Gerbelat Road, I realized that it was him. And he was the kind of person to drive with his high beams on just because he was not a nice person. So at this point in time, I didn't know what to do, and I knew that if I had stopped my car that night that I wouldn't be speaking to you today. I knew that no one could get there in time to help me, so the events that happened in the quick moments after this it was the biggest blessing with a brick in my life to get me out of that situation and leave me with some injuries and memories that will always remind me how precious life is and how to appreciate it. And I'm grateful for my daily reminders, so we'll summarize with that at the end. So I was driving and I just thought we were going to end up at the houses at the end of Gerbelat Road because we're going probably 80 when I flipped my car, and what I believe happened, which no one ever will fully know the full story, but I moved over thinking he'd get in front of me, and is that the next one? Did we go? Hold on. Oh, okay. Did you guys see the car before? Did we see that picture? If we go back. Okay, so here's the car before. My mom wanted me to get the heaviest, safest car, and that Buick Regal 88, that car saved my life right there. And somehow, lots of other powers that be, and including you guys, all saved my life that night. So I woke up. You could just pause right there if you wanted to. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so I was driving. I moved over. I moved back. And then somehow I flipped my car. And the suspicion is I flipped 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then uprooted the tree, broke it in half. My legs went around the tree with the hood of the car. My left leg was like hyperextended 45 degrees the wrong way, and my right leg, my femoral artery was cut. And what I learned this year is that there was no blood at the scene in the car. So no one knew that with one wrong move that 3 minutes, right, with your femoral artery. So it's amazing that we did this extraction without undoing that until the very end. So I just remember waking up and telling him to move his car so I could see, and my seatbelt wasn't there, and I just thought I could unbuckle my seatbelt and get out. I was like, oh, I'll just get out of the car, no big deal, right? And seatbelt wasn't there, couldn't really feel my legs, it was really dark, and I don't remember the screaming part, but it's said by neighbors that there was a portion of time that I must have been hysterical, but then went into complete shock, but was super calm and focused on to like, okay, gotta get out of this car. So eventually there thankfully was 2 people on their way home that night, driving just home from being out, and they stopped. They actually saw some of it happen, but not all of it. They know that he was close enough to my car to light up the whole back, and headlights are made to go down at the ground, not to light up the car in front of you, so if you're super close, it'll light up the whole car in a way. Like, he was just right there, so my whole car was lit up. That's how close he was to me. So they just saw the car flip, and then they got him away from me, because his first reaction was to push that car over and try and get me out. So thankfully there were people on the way home that got the chance to get other people to get me out. So I just remember, I know that a couple people showed up before the rest of the crew got there from being told, but I just remember all of a sudden we're working to get me out. And then this is what the 3 hours was filled with. So for 3 hours, I could feel pressure, not pain. I wasn't in pain, there was no medicine, there wasn't anything to help me feel better, and it couldn't be because I was stable and conscious and alive and talking. And we worked together. So for 3 hours, as they cut, I could feel my legs lessen the pressure. And if they cut in a way, if you guys cut in a way that hurt, then they would listen to me and they would not do that anymore. I think like there was 3 broken jaws of life right by the end we were done, and there's all sorts of broken things. It was just lots and lots of equipment taken to get me to the point. So this is a picture that I've not seen until last night. And funny enough, that was like my favorite tank top. And I had my favorite jeans on. And I didn't want them to cut them off of me. I was that conscious and knew what was going on at the end. So we finally got to a point where they're like, we're gonna have to amputate that right leg. And what I didn't also know until this past year is it wasn't about just amputating one leg, it was about amputating both legs. And if they hadn't, Jim and Mike, and forgive me for everyone else I'm not mentioning, in the end we'll have all of you guys stand up who are in this room today. And if it wasn't for them fighting to get those doctors to give them time to get me out of that car, the amputation would have not just been my right leg, it would have been the left leg as well. So I remember the left leg was obviously the better leg, and we were close to getting that out. And we were like, okay, I could feel it was close, like let's get the left leg out. And I remember we got the left leg out, but we still had no idea where this right leg was, and obviously we couldn't get it out as easily because the hood in the tree had cut it, but the hood in the tree had pinched that artery from bleeding out. So instead of bleeding out, my leg just didn't get any blood for the 3 hours that I was stuck in the car. And so probably longer, because when you guys finally got there, so it was probably about 3.5 hours that the leg didn't get any blood. So, immediately right away that leg started dying. I had no idea any of this was wrong while I was in the car, and my left elbow had split open, and I kept telling my elbow, you gotta fix my elbow. And like, we have way more things to do. I was like, no, you don't understand my elbow. And I wanted chapstick and I wanted water, and they wouldn't give me any of that. And I knew my mom, I had a pager, my mom kept paging me. I go, that's my mom, you gotta call her, she's wondering where I am. And they didn't call her right away. It wasn't until a little bit that my mom finally came on the scene. My dad never came to the scene that night. He actually stayed there the whole entire time with his mom, as well. So we got to the point where they broke the window over me, so they put the blanket over me. I fully remember that. Very kind of traumatized way of breaking glass, and that just was the only way to get me out. And then they pulled me out, and this is when we now all of a sudden find out how bad it is. So the next few pictures are a little gruesome, but it shows how amazing it is that together through this teamwork we were able to get me out to the next one. I tell people sometimes a shark bit it. So, and it's interesting to look at it now. I will gladly show you my leg when we're done, one by one or whatever. You can see it. I usually would just show you up here, but you won't be able to see it. But it's amazing now, 17 years later, where it is. So if you want to see it, have no shame. Come ask me. I'll gladly show you. So these are just the pictures of some of the windows that are broken. I love glitter, so I had like a glitter sticker on one of my windows. That window didn't shatter at all. That just stayed sparkly. And so some glass was there, some wasn't. So there my legs were around the tree with the hood of the car, and I just was upside down, and those EMTs, they squatted there the whole entire time talking to me. Somehow they had purple gloves, purple neck brace. My favorite color is purple. I don't know how they had that in that truck that night, but I had a purple neck brace, purple gloves, and I still have those pants, but they focus on the fact that this was not a drunk driving accident. This had no impairment at all, and there was water bottles all over because I was always a big water drinker, and I kept everything around there. So, all right, I don't remember the hospital ride, but I do remember, like I said, telling them not to cut off my clothes, and that I really liked those pants and that shirt. So then in the hospital. So my left thumb was broken, my right elbow had split open from a previous accident, and then my left leg, the PCL was gone, the right leg, the lateral ligament was gone, but those were really the least of the worries. So for 3.5 weeks, they had to debride my leg every other day to try and save it. And I wasn't told, which is kind of weird now I think about it, stuck in there about 3.5 hours, and then for 3.5 weeks it took them to tell me whether I would keep my leg or not. And I had no idea how bad the leg was because the leg was wrapped in 2x2, so it was wrapped in this really, really big, it looked normal, and were doing skin grafts every other day, or however long they did the skin grafts to fix the leg, skin grafts to fix the leg. And then it was finally 3.5 weeks later that they said, well, you'll keep it, but we don't know anything that you'll ever do again. And from then on out, it was just trying to stand again one day. It was just trying to take a step again one day and do things on my own. So I got out of there 5.5 weeks later, and I went to home on the stretcher. I could not walk, I could not do anything for myself, but I had to go to school. I had to go to my first day of my senior year. I could not let him stop me from doing that. So I went to school like that. I had an external fixator in my leg when I went home. They had taken it out of the up part of my body, of my leg, but it still was in the lower portion. And we still were doing surgeries to fix some things there. But it had to be above my heart at all times because I lost 2 main arteries, my ankle was shattered, and my fibula is shattered. So I have one bone all the way up and then a tiny bit of it up to where it was shattered. So they weren't sure what I would ever do again. And then I'm going to summarize the next 17 years because I have now lived almost as long after the accident as I did when the accident happened. So that was when I could first just stand, and I'm not putting any pressure on my right leg because my left leg also was hurt very bad. It didn't work for a long time, and I couldn't point or flex even my left leg. So I did my undergrad, I did my grad, I finished on RIT, both degrees. Ricky and my husband right here, we got married. I was so stubborn, I walked down the aisle in heels, and I can't even walk in heels, and I shouldn't have, but I had to. And I did it though, right? I had to do that. That's Ricky's daughter Maya, and then our son Caden, so they weren't sure if I was ever going to be able to get pregnant or carry a child, so I was able to do that. I don't know if I'll do that ever again, maybe one day, but I'm really proud I did it once. And now I have just been focused on being as strong as I possibly can and work my butt off in the gym to rebuild the muscle because he's a lot of freaking work. And after I had him, it was like quickly a big realization of how much I struggled just every day before I now had a baby, and then now with the baby, it was just really hard. So I had to get back to, I probably put a video on here, but maybe it didn't work. I don't know, is there video in the back? No? Well, if you don't follow me on Facebook, you should definitely follow me and watch my videos. But I've gotten to the point where my big goal now is to stand on my right leg without imbalance. So balance on my right leg. So I can stand on it pretty quick, but I have not been able to do that ever. So I am regrowing muscle now for the first time 17 years later. So that 3 hours that they fought to get me out of the car and the time of not knowing if it was worth it or getting, second guessed on whether they should amputate the leg, it was 100% worth it. I'd much rather have my leg than not have it and to fight for it. And like I said, I believe that we saved my leg that night and it's where it is now because every day I have that reminder and then I share my story with others and go talk about how life is so precious and things can change in a split second. And even if they do, that you can overcome and triumph and survive, and it's not easy, but it's worth it. So anytime in the future, anytime there's that second guessing, sometimes it's worth it to just overcome that second guessing. You never know how that will actually overcome. I always say the doctors are really great guides. They're really good people to tell you what they think is going on, but they don't ever know 100% what will really happen ever again, because I prove them wrong every single time. But if I had given up years ago, then I would still just be not really walking well. I did have my ankle fused 5 years ago, and that was one of the best surgeries I did. I got a good many years out of my ankle, and then it got really bad and really painful. So I stand up here 3 years, no medicine. No pain medicine. I haven't gone to physical therapy at all. I do it all on my own, and I'm more present and here and aware than I was, and the medicine was needed all those years, assistance and DSS and SSI, all of that, but I'm not on any of that. I work full time, and I was able to come full circle. So being here to just share with you the triumph and tragedy and how I overcame that is just such an honor. So I thank you so much for letting me share and having me here. And yeah, I think that's it. So anything I missed, I think I covered it. No? Any questions? Curious? I asked Facebook today what question they would ask me, if they could ask me any question. Some people asked like how did I stay calm the whole entire time? And I just think, so I always wondered, like, why was it taking you guys so long to get me out? Why were you not just taking me out of the car? It was a long time to be in there, and you have no idea the work that's going on outside when you're just in this little car, and you're like, oh, I'm fine, I'm breathing, I'm okay, I'm alive. And the whole time I just remember wondering, like, why am I not out of this? Like, am I gonna get out soon? Are you gonna get me out of here soon? Like, what is going on? And that's kind of all I was thinking about, and I honestly had no idea how bad it was, and that, my life at that moment will have forever changed. And cheerleading and dance and that stuff was now kind of very far from what I would go back to doing. But now I'm getting closer to doing those things again. So yeah. Any questions, comments, anything? No?
What happened to the
He wasn't guilty in the end. He was charged with attempted vehicular manslaughter and reckless endangerment, reckless driving, and we went to court. And yeah, I always wondered, what if I just had called the cops and said he was chasing me? Like, if that report would have been there, would that have made a difference? But probably not. I don't know. But one day his life is his life now. So very far from away from that, and very on a whole different path. But I know that accident was needed to get me away from that situation. And without that accident, without me being in the hospital for 5.5 weeks, away from him, away from that obsession of that relationship, that definitely was an important part of this whole recovery. So, and then I did have an order of protection for a while after the accident, and then I had Ricky, so. But he's of no worry now, and in a much better place. And then I go tell my story to teens, and I go back into high school and tell all about the relationship and the car accident, and thinking I was invincible, thinking I could do things on my own, thinking I could change it or fix it, and then how God showed me otherwise. So someone asked me if I believed in God while I was in there, or if I thought about God while I was in there, and I was like, I just really think I thought about getting out. I don't really think I thought about anything else. And then after that, for probably a good 12 years, it was all about surgeries, recovery, surgeries, recovery, surgeries, recovery. And then the fusion, and then getting away from ankle braces. And then I haven't had an ankle brace in 5 years, so that was like another freeing thing to get rid of. To wear a pressure stocking and with not having the arteries. But I mean, it hurts on and off, and it's uncomfortable here and there. But overall, it's just reminding me it's there, I think. So, anything else? Good. Well, please, yeah.
I don't remember what that picture was from, that last one.
Which one?
The one with the muscle, that one. One more, there you go.
Oh, so that's recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's from me working out. So I had another video I wanted to show you, the new, I have a Mac, sorry, technology here. I made my video, I just literally noticed new muscle, and I think new blood flowing to my leg from the muscle growing. I've just been slowly adding weight, slowly being careful. I hold on, I modify, I just every day keep going, and I can't wear heels, I can't wear sandals, but I can do some killer workouts with some weights. So that's what I just focus on, helping myself become strong again through becoming physically strong. And I think that's really something that has been a savior for me these past few years, is really being able to become strong that way, so I can physically and mentally heal fully. So being able to be here is really like full circle for me, to be able to come back and share, like I talk about firefighters and the EMTs all the time, and they're always a very presence with me in my life, and you guys fought damn hard for me that night, and I've been fighting damn hard ever since to continue to show that life is fully worth living. And no matter how bad or, you know, hard it could be, in the end, it's totally worth it, so yeah. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it, and again, thank you all for your service.
Who was on that call?